Okay, I think I fixed it. Christ. Okay, now where is the thing? The chat. Okay, I think I fixed it. Christ. Okay, now where is the thing? The chat. Is it working? Let me know. Sorry, one of the actors said they might be able to join, so I had to switch the way I was live streaming so they could join us. But then they're like, oh, wait, no, I can't. Ugh. So if that changes, now I'm on a system where I can add them on real quick. Before I was just doing the super simple way to do a live stream on YouTube, which made it so I couldn't do that. Now I can. And if anybody else wants to come along and say hello, they can. So there's that. I see 4 people. Hi, Mayumi. Good to see you as always. Actually, I'm going to plug in and use headphones so there's no echo and I can still hear what's going on. Boom. Did we get Samantha back? I hope so. I'd feel really bad. There she is. So, was it more or less difficult to direct a radio play versus a short film? It was much, much, much easier. It was actually a lot of fun because everyone was right in front of me and they just had to voice. We didn't have to set up shots. We didn't have to set up lighting. There was no waiting. Once everyone was set, they had their scripts in front of them, and we took it from there. And I basically took really fast notes as everyone was going along. Basically, we got 60 pages done in a day. We had 4 episodes, and they each averaged around 15 pages. So it's about 60 pages, and we got it done in less than 8 hours. I'd be lucky to get 10 pages done in a 10 or 12-hour day on a shoot. And usually that's pretty good. When somebody says you got 10 pages done, that's pretty good. Actually, I know how to. There we go. Funny shenanigans while recording. Yeah, and I'll be putting them up. Let's see here. I'll be putting them up as behind-the-scenes stuff later on. But mostly just flubs or just people having fun. And, you know, because we're all standing there just because we're all just standing there in our little booths, there's like these quiet little conversations happening in between. I know you edit, but do you edit with music too, like with your composer? I mean, he composes the music, and then I'll ask him for changes, and he'll make those changes. And then I usually, once it's all good, I drop it in. And then on rare occasions, like if I'm making an edit for something else or I'm making a trailer, I'll edit the music down to shorten it. I do that sometimes. So a little bit of editing. Excuse me. Mm.
All right, can you hear me?
Mickalicious, what's up?
Is this a Q&A between the two of us? Because I got questions.
I got questions for you, Mick Ignis.
I felt like that was going into a question, but it didn't actually end up going into a question.
Oh, Mick is not visible at the time because he is in real life prosthetic horror film makeup. And it takes a couple weeks for that makeup to come down, I guess.
I'm using a new glue that just lasts throughout the entire production, so
Gotcha.
they gave me a nice $5 bump on that paycheck for that. So
Yep.
yeah, no expense.
Yeah. Do you seriously have questions?
No.
Okay.
I'm just right now. I'm gonna wait till noon and contact Janie and find out some updates on the poster and stuff. So that's the plan for today.
Yeah. So what's it like being a producer on this? What are you doing, and what are your thoughts on the things you've been doing?
I've been trying to make your life easier by not giving you extra work and allowing you to just direct. So I've been trying to fill in the gaps of everything I can do to kind of add every element to this production besides the actual writing and directing portion of it, which there is quite a bit, from making sure that the recording sessions are actually happening and coming together well, to organizing poster shoots, assisting with casting, as well as trying to put together some that are some really extra fun extra visual things to go along with it.
Right. And you're having fun with it. You're kind of like taking ownership of it. Like,
well, I mean, the thing that I wanted to do about it, do with this whole thing in the first place was just have more freedom to kind of do fun, interesting, creative things without just being bogged down in making a film.
right.
So for this, obviously the only thing that that we really need to get done for every one of these is the poster.
Right.
Goes with each episode, but everything else is just an optional extra thing. It's not something that's going to hinder us releasing each episode, but it's something that we can play with, experiment with, and just see if it works.
Sure.
So there's a lot of things that we can do with this that is going to be that I think the listeners are going to have a lot of fun seeing, that we're going to have a lot of fun making.
Mm-hmm.
Take away a significant amount of stress from us, where we just get to create something without having a lot of deadlines and a lot of kind of mandatory headaches to deal with. Honestly, this is a lot of experimentation in things that we could all utilize in the future.
Sure. No, there's definitely a lot of less stress because the logistics of putting together these recordings is far less daunting than putting together a film. And as much as I love making films, and I still am, making this project, I was dedicated to be like, look, this has to be fun first and foremost, and a fun project that I do with my friends, that our audience gets to enjoy as well. And and it has to be pretty part-time, so I can have the rest of my time dedicated towards making more films. But those films are for getting distribution and a full feature-length film and making money and making a living. And this stuff I'll never make a living off of. So it has to be a pure passion project, which means it needs to take up less of our time, which is why Mick is so awesome in helping me get other things done while I can just focus on editing the episodes, rehearsals, directing, things like that. So, yeah. And Garrett's helping too, because he's helping build the story.
Yeah, and and that's the thing, I found it was funny when you released the video the other day mentioning, just again, that we're doing this for free. It seemed like a lot of people were actually surprised by that.
I know
that it's like, oh my God, that's so nice of you guys to be doing this for free. It's like, yeah, this has all been out of pocket and for free.
Yeah, it's never been anybody who got paid was paid bare minimum because they had to, and they knew that going in.
Yeah. I mean, basically, we're able to pay out of pocket to people who really need to get paid.
Yeah.
like people who are running sessions and stuff like that, our engineers and stuff. But it's, as far as we go, this is, we're all industry professionals. We're all doing this for a living. We're just not doing this for a living.
Right.
This is not the project that's paying the bills. This is the project that we're doing between the projects that are, actually paying the bills. So,
Sure.
that was one of the things we had to, kind of had to come to some compromises on, where it's like, oh, we'd love to spend a ton of time doing this, but realistically, we've got a year that we're going to be on this creating content for this radio play. And we need to realize that while we might be free right now, we still have work and we still have projects and productions that are going to come up within the next 12 months. So we're just making sure that all the balls are kept in the air so that we can keep doing this project that we love, which we're not doing for any money or any sort of compensation, while still being able to work on, the things that feed us.
Right, and that's why we're also only recording like 3 sessions, 4 episodes each, and that happens every few months. So it gives people plenty of time to work out their schedules, and we only record for 1 day, get all 4 episodes out of the way. It's really very part-time, very chill, and it's very sweet of you, Kelly. She says people are probably surprised it's free because of the quality and amount of work that goes into it.
Well, the truth of this whole project and how it's always been is that the reason we've had such good luck on getting the people involved that we have is because this is a showpiece for so many of us.
Mm-hmm.
Work on a lot of projects, and I have projects that I absolutely love working on that are the sort of projects I've always wanted to do. But for this is an opportunity for each of us to show the sort of work that we would do in a project like this. We're all fantasy fans, we're all Harry Potter fans, but in essence, like, this sort of genre and this sort of production is what we want to get paid to do.
Right.
So, for us, we're not going to phone it in, because there'd be no point in us doing a project for free and phoning it in, because the whole point is to put out a very high quality product.
Yeah. Stephanie asked, Mick, did you find it more difficult to do a vocal performance since you couldn't use your body or face to convey feeling?
It's funny that for all the roles that I play, it is either all physical or all vocal. I've played a lot of a lot of my characters that I play on film don't speak at all, so it's almost entirely physical. And then I've done a bunch of voiceover stuff because I've done I've been in animation, the animation industry for years as well. So I've worked a lot with either all physical or all vocal, and just what I've heard, I'm really happy with how much my vocal performance has come across so far in the radio play. And I'm really excited to see what sound effects do for that as well. But it was easy to jump right back into it. I have to say, though, one of the things we wanted to make sure to do for these sessions, which worked out because I have a connection to this amazing recording studio space, is having everybody in the room at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't going into a vocal booth and being disconnected from the other actors. Everyone's already in the same room together.
Right.
So that made things a lot easier performance-wise. And it's something that, honestly, I know a lot of major radio plays don't do. Things like this, they don't do that. I was talking with a close friend of mine, my friend James, last week. He does a voiceover on a major cartoon on Adult Swim. And he almost never records with the rest of the cast. It's almost always individual. So for us to be able to do this is kind of rare for this format. That's not something that a lot of ensemble vocal performances get to do. Usually it's one person just with a pair of headphones listening to whatever somebody did weeks ago.
Right. And I remember I got to shoot some behind the scenes for the Ratchet and Clank movie when they were doing voices. They didn't have the whole cast, but they had 3 or 4. And they had Andrea Romano, the legendary voice director. Watching her work was amazing. They got through 60, 70 pages in one day. And the way that they worked so fast, her direction was really fast. Her when getting through takes was really fast. And just the process was so fascinating and really, really quick. So when I got a chance to do it, I was like, not only is this like really satisfying because we got through 6 times the amount of pages we would on a film set. It was really fun just having the whole group in front of me and everyone working off of each other, taking notes really fast. The pacing was just, it was fun. And I was like, I could do more of this. Once this is done, I'm going to send this series to Andrea Romano and be like, hey, you got any work?
On that too. I mean, I think we ended up spending like 3/4 of the day that we actually expected. We cut out, you know, we were expecting to finish a lot later than we did.
Right.
That testaments to the fact that the new actors and the new cast that we brought in are awesome.
They are awesome. I just had Denise come in for a quick pickup because I had to do a pickup for the intro and outro recordings. I forgot to mention a couple of crew members because I'm a jerk. But anyways, I was like, yeah, I got to get this extra line that we missed on our first day of recording. And I called Denise and said, you probably can't do this, but could you like come by and just do this one line? And she's like, oh yeah, I got nothing going on. I'm like, oh, awesome. And she came over and she was so fun, so bubbly and happy. It was also her birthday. So happy birthday, Denise.
Denise is a very controversial figure in our cast. I mean,
I know, beans, those terrible beans.
Controversial bean lady now.
Yeah.
So, context on that: Denise's picture has been popping up in quite a few like news sites around England because she was in a Heinz baked beans commercial that got banned because they said the beans were really, really, really good for you and probably better for you than eating just a plate of beans probably is. Right. So now, like, famous for being in this like banned Heinz beans commercial. So it's kind of amazing and hilarious. It's the best. It's one of the best controversies I've seen. Is just, you know, this controversial beans commercial.
I know it's going to be. It's really good PR for us. Like, we have cast the controversial beans lady from for the British commercial, whatever it is. But,
I just kind of want to like add a scene there where like Mrs. Pettigrew is instead of offering like candy to Peter, she's just offering him like a plate of baked beans.
Right. Yeah. Kelly says hi, Liana.
Hi, Kelly.
Liana says hi, Kelly. For Justin, do you voice the stage direction in the radio play like you did with the Patreon sneak peek? No, I do not. This is meant to be, you're meant to hear the stage direction as best as possible. And that's probably the most experimental part of this, is that we can't show what's happening. We have to placate the dialogue and sound effects to make sure that the story is being told and is understood. Have we pulled that off? I think so, but I think the real test is when I start seeing those comments come through. So no, the radio play will not have a narrator. I never saw it having a narrator. We debated having a narrator and being it more like an audiobook, but to me that was it didn't quite feel right. And we're sticking to the challenge of blocking and making sure actions are understood through sound effects. And if it works out, I think it'll be very immersive.
I honestly, hearing the first episode, and that was even before I haven't heard the cut that has the finished music in it yet.
Yeah.
But the idea always was like, it should be like you're just watching a movie with your eyes closed.
Sure.
But more sound effects, more things to make it more immersive so that it feels cinematic.
Right.
Probably cinematic.
Right.
I think we're really close to that right now.
The YouTube video will have some supplemental fan art, but that's meant to be kind of icing on the cake. If you need that to understand what's going on in the story, then we haven't done our job. This is meant to be heard on podcasts. And I think I've gotten every podcast except Spotify, or all the major ones. I've got TuneIn and Apple, Google, a couple others.
Yeah, there should be no reason you should not be able to find this. Or
right. Yeah.
And we are planning on releasing we're working on captions now. We're working on subtitles and other things we can do as well for people who aren't able to listen in.
Once the English subtitles come up, I'm going to rely on users across the world to do their own translations. There's an option on YouTube that allows you to do that, to submit translations. So that'll make things easier. That's how we got so many languages for Snape and the Marauders, is I just set up the English subtitles, and then other people submitted theirs for Arabic, French, German, all kinds. It was really cool.
Great, because that just opened us up to an audience that I was not expecting at all. I mean, you know, like
right.
Whoever did the Russian or, you know, the Russian subtitles or whatever, like massive, massive fan base out there, massive fan base in Ukraine, huge fan base in Ukraine that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, well, there's dubs, right? People like just took our movies and then grabbed the music that's available from the movie and then just made their own dubs.
There's a few. I mean, I always like checking the counter to see how many views we have, and I think we're at like 4.5 million right now. Yeah. But that's not including the fan-made Spanish dub.
Right, that's like 500,000.
Yeah, that has like 500, 600,000 or something like that. Or the German dub, which is like a quarter, you know, like 25, 200.
I wish that YouTube allowed us to have different tracks, because I would totally get in touch with these people and be like, yes, you can add your tracks as long as it's added to our video, which it can't happen yet. So Netflix just finally started doing that, and I'd love it if YouTube did that. Geo says, Mick, I had the chance to watch you in a clip of American Vampires, and I think you deserve to portray characters other than only monsters and demons. I agree.
I thank you. I'm working on it right now.
I'll be right back.
There's a lot of fun stuff coming up for Stand Against Evil that you know, we'll be seeing in the 3rd season that will be greatly expanded upon. So I've got 5 episodes coming up this fall. Stand Against Evil. I have one of those episodes will be me out of prosthetics and just more of a featured cameo role sort of thing. But yeah, look out for that. There's a lot of fun performance stuff that I'll be doing for Stand this fall. As well as a bunch of other stuff. You know, it's playing inhuman characters right now. Like I want to expand beyond that, but I'm also not complaining because that is what's giving me my living. You know, I'm making a significantly better living each year playing these sort of characters, and I've gotten quite a reputation, having a blast with it. But I am working on expanding beyond those sort of roles. Not that I'll ever leave it.
Right.
More selective about roles that interest me. Are you drinking chocolate milk right now?
No, I'm drinking a bitter tasting healthy concoction called Body Balance.
That is not as fun.
And you know I can't have dairy anymore, so.
Well, yeah, like chocolate almond milk or something.
Oh yeah, no, I've tried that. It's not very good.
Mm.
So, and it's sugar. It's still sugar. I'm just taking my pills. But Mick, you said that you're hoping that you can kind of do a new, you're doing a photo shoot right now for the cover photos for each episode, and they're pretty straightforward and simple, but you want to do something more as we go along. Can you elaborate on that without, spoiling too much?
Without spoiling anything. So I've for years had a very good relationship with Adobe. And if you don't know what Adobe is, Adobe does Photoshop, Final Cut, like all the
not Final Cut. That's Apple.
Oh no, what is
Premiere?
Premiere is what I'm thinking of. Premiere. Just going down the list, they're this amazing company, and I've worked with them for years on like doing fun creative events. And one of the photographers I know there, a guy named Sean Teagarden, who has assisted us with the photo shoot for the first episode. He has this very, very cool method of doing a moving portrait motion photo sort of effect. And I thought at first that it was just going to be like, a video. I thought it was just going to be a GIF-like video, which is what I was considering before.
Yeah.
The work that he had done recently, it is a different effect. It is wildly eerie. It looks like somebody's moving within a portrait. It is very, very cool. And definitely has much more of a vibe to it of a moving portrait from the wizarding world than just a video in sepia.
Cool.
So he showed me this amazing thing he's doing right now. He's doing them for Dairy Farm right now, for like Knott's Berry Farm horror, horror show for the month. He's like, that's the project he's currently working on.
Yeah.
We discussed ideas of how to utilize that for supplemental Wizarding War material, and came up with some really fun ideas. This will the way I want to shoot this out will be a little less based on specific episodes of Wizarding War we're doing, and more building up this period and these characters during this era. So some of the stuff we're going to be doing will take place during the radio play, but some of the supplemental material we'll be creating are more character-based for like our characters in the radio play that might be before or after this timeline. So we're still working that out right now, but having a lot of fun discussing that, because I had a kind of an idea of how I wanted to do these from the very beginning of doing, moving portraits that we can have on the website, on the Facebook page. But after he showed me what he's able to do, it's gone so far beyond that.
Cool.
We have a very cool element that we're still discussing for the radio play that actually ties it all together with this extra little storyline.
We have to figure that out real quick too, because if we're going to get into episode 2, then we need to do it like within the next couple weeks.
We need to see the YouTube space. That's the first thing. We just need to figure out what we have to work with, because now that Broad Strokes has hit a certain amount of subscribers, we have access to this YouTube space now.
We've had access for a long time. You only need 10,000 subscribers. The problem is that I work a full-time job. I have to be there, and they're only open on weekdays. They do have weekends, but they're always overbooked by the giants of YouTube, so it's never available. So I need to figure out how to maybe get you in there on your own, and then we can figure it out from there. But we also need to think about options as to, at least for the first video, to do it without needing the YouTube studio. So I would definitely want to use it. My hands are tied with the job I have right now.
We can figure out something for the first the second episode, because
right.
we are talking about filming things with characters that are going to be some very quick, easy film shoots to do.
Right, and it'll be YouTube bonuses.
Yeah, YouTube bonuses. So there is a very good chance that you will see the characters from Snape and the Marauders on film again.
Right.
As well as a lot of new characters as well, because we actually kind of lucked out with the fact that quite a few of our characters that we cast vocally do have a physical match to the characters that they're playing.
A couple of them, yeah, for sure.
So we're going to utilize that.
Yeah.
The plan is right now to utilize that.
Cool. Justin, you look in great shape. Thank you. I've lost like 35 pounds in the last 6 months. Best and worst memory while recording our production. Best memory was probably when we did that surprise happy birthday for Alex, the music composer who came down on his birthday to check out what we were doing. Worst? It was a pretty great day.
I can't think of anything that went wrong that day.
No, not really, honestly. A couple people were like, I really want to leave earlier. I thought we would get to my role quicker. I'd be like, okay, we'll just rearrange a couple things. And it was like no problem at all. So, yeah, nothing bad about that recording day. And hopefully it stays that way. That was another reason why I was like, oh, I could do more of this. Is I was like, this is stress-free. This was fun. This was fast. This was like, shoot, I want to do more of this. Do you have a dream role or project? Dream project for me was Dune, and then Denis Villeneuve got the movie, so that dream is shattered. But he's an amazing director, and I look forward to seeing what he does with it. I would love to direct an episode of Star Trek. That would be the best thing in the world. And then I have a bunch of movies that are mine that I want to make. So lots of dreams to be held. What about you, Mick?
It is my eye is going to forever be on something Marvel related until it happens.
Yeah.
I've been trying to impress them for years, and there's with so many, with knowing that their next slew of projects coming along are all either cosmic based or like Doctor Strange, other universe based.
Yeah.
There are a lot of options of characters I can play that fit into my niche currently.
Right.
Much easier in for me.
Sure.
So yeah, I'm working on that. It's going to be a lot easier after my insane fall that I'm going to have in a couple months.
Yeah. Yeah. It's got a lot of stuff coming out. I have a question for you, Mick, and all of you guys. So tomorrow I'm going to be sitting down with Garrett, Danny, and myself, and we're going to be recording a podcast episode that's like an after episode discussion. So, like the Talking Dead kind of thing. Mick, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to do that, and I'm going to record it, video record it. And I was wondering, like, should I just put that out for free after each episode, or should I make it a Patreon thing?
I would put it out for free.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we want to get more people involved in we want to get more people involved in the Patreon, and I think there are other things we can do for Patreon people, but I want to direct more people to the Patreon, direct them to things like this. The more people involved, the more fun it always is.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good point. More people, the more fun.
Yeah. So I want to build this thing. I think there's other fun things we can do for the Patreon that we have ideas for. But for things like things for the podcast and things like that, I think let's get as many people involved as possible and keep that conversation going.
Sure. Okay. Fair enough. I like it. What else do we got going on? We're gonna turn this off at 11:30. Sorry that it took like 6 or 7 minutes to get reset because the original podcasting thing live streaming thing I was using was not Google Hangouts, and I couldn't invite Mick onto it, so I had to switch out. I don't know. What'd you have for breakfast, Mick?
I haven't had breakfast yet. I'm getting breakfast right after this.
All right.
My coffee for the day, and then contact Jenny about these posters. These posters I am so excited about. I'm
looking forward to seeing it. It's really nice because I have nothing to do with it. I'm just sitting back.
Yeah, it was sometimes having constraints actually ends up leading to better ideas.
Art through adversity.
Exactly. The idea I originally had for episode 1's poster was very busy. It was very busy. I had a lot of details I wanted to fit into it. It was like this whole this whole scene I wanted to build, which I still think would have been very cool, but I realized that the amount of time it was taking to organize that one shoot, I would then have to make sure I did 12 times, and they would have to kind of match the same.
Yeah.
There's just not going to be time for that in the future. Like if I have time right now to do it and this is still rough, then I need to simplify. And I came up with this idea that keeps all the posters in this cool sort of uniform look, that's simplifying it down to that and making them all individual. They're all going to be individual character posters that are all going to feature each one of the characters in this very neat sort of way. Ended up being an idea that I like way more.
Mm-hmm.
And working with Janie Walter, who designed the posters for the film as well, like she's going above and beyond what I was hoping for it.
She always does.
So I am very excited about how these posters are going to look. I'm excited to see them all when they're done after a full year of these all lined up.
Yeah,
because they're all going to have this. They're all going to be the same exact type of theme and look.
Right.
So when they all come together and you all see them lined up, I think it's going to be a really, really cool set. Janie originally was going to use stock images to create the poster, and she went through them and didn't like them, so instead she's just building the entire world from scratch. Like just dozens and dozens and dozens of layers, and she can just manipulate the whole thing like some sort of Photoshop god.
Well, it's just funny because she said, like, I can't do that this time. Like, I don't have the time. I'm like, yeah, no problem. We'll get the elements for you. All you got to do is throw them in. And then we do that for her, and she's like, "This isn't enough. I'm like, okay, what do you want?"
Well, I mean, I told her, it's like, I have another Photoshop expert that can assist with this, and
yeah.
When I told her that, she kind of had this look on her face like, "Yo, this is mine."
Really?
Well, I told her that, and her first was like, "Okay, so how involved am I?" And I'm like, "You're as involved as you want to be. Like, this person is literally just if you need the extra help." And she's like, "Okay, good." You know, she wants to make this hers. So
that's great.
But she's like us in the fact that it's like, look, she's doing this to show her best work in this genre.
Right.
No, it doesn't make sense to make a commitment to this project and phone it in. Like, there's no point.
No, I get it. And I think that she was just worried because, you know, that she had a lot to do, and she understands how much time Snape and Marauders took up. And that was my concern going through the whole thing, is like, if I'm going to do this again, then I want to keep in mind what everyone else's lives are like. And so we can still do this and have fun with it. So that's why the radio play made things a lot easier, because it's just, I only need you guys twice out of every few months, and then you just go in and do your thing. So when I was talking to Janie, I was just like, what can we do to make your job easier? And she told us. And then once we got her involved, you could see her eyes light up and her go, I need to do more. And that's what everybody did. As soon as they got involved, as soon as they got up to the plate, they're just like, well, I can't just sit here and not bat. I have to try and strike home runs. And that's always a lot of fun to see people see their passions come back through. So let's see. Do you have a favorite toy as a child, and do you still have it? Did I have a favorite toy? Mm-hmm. I had a stuffed animal dolphin called Delphinius, and I don't have it anymore.
I had a stuffed tiger. The tiger is still on my dresser next to my bed.
You mean in your bed and you sleep with it because it helps you get to bed?
Well, no, he needs to be in a place where he can see everything.
Oh, okay. To keep monsters away. Gotcha.
He can't be sleeping on the job.
That's fair. No,
he's on the shelf in like a guard post position to make sure that the room is safe.
Gotcha. That's fair. I mean, I sleep with a body pillow with a Batman symbol on it, so I'm being kept safe from crime.
Somebody breaks into their house, they see your pillow, they're like, "Oh no, fuck this, man."
Yeah, no.
This guy knows Batman. We got to get out of here.
Yeah.
Don't give those pills to anybody.
Is writing a radio play more or less difficult than writing a screenplay? Was it more or less the same? It has been more difficult, but not because of a radio play. It's been a very fun challenge to figure out how to make sure that everything is understood without audio, because what you're taught in screenplays is to make sure there's more doing and less saying. Now it's the opposite. Now it's more saying and less doing. But I don't want there to be too much exposition. So I want to make sure that it is character-driven as much as possible. And then we use sound to display action as cleverly as possible, as much as possible. So that's been a challenge, but a very fun one. The real challenge is this is a series. And I didn't initially have plans to finish telling the story or tell more story after Snape and the Marauders. But I just kept saying, like, there's unfinished elements here. Like, what happens to Remus? How do the Marauders deal with what Snape did to them? What is it like for Snape when he joins the Death Eaters? And I was like, well, yeah, I should keep telling stories. So now there's an entire arc, 12 episodes. And I have to figure out what that arc is like for our characters. Like, what is Lily going through? What is James going through? What does James need to learn? What is Snape learning? How does Snape join the Death Eaters? But how does Snape feel like he belongs in the Death Eaters? Like, is a big question. And I think that initially he doesn't feel like he belongs, and he's doubtful if he wants to be a part of it. And we get to see how he evolves. So that's over the course of 12 episodes, and that's the hard part. That's the part that I'm not sure that I'm going to be the greatest at, but that's why I also have Garrett's help this time, because he's a very good storyteller as well, and he's working with me on figuring out how to make sure that these characters have strong arcs, that they learn something and then they're better for it, or worse, depending on who it is.
Yeah, you have a lot of arcs to balance out in this, and a lot of characters to balance too. I mean, you're in an almost Game of Thrones-esque way of juggling these characters right now, because it really isn't a main character. You know, there is not. You know, I think the most featured characters as far as things going on around are probably Snape and James, but at least you know the show right now is very balanced in who we give attention to. You know, you'll have like a good 5 minutes of an episode with just Peter, or you know, a moment with just Sirius and Lupin, or just Lily, and you know, there's a lot of juggling to do with that to make sure that this is not just James' story or Snape's story and their evolution. You know, it's
right. And now we get to build up on characters that didn't have build-ups before. Like, I'm having a lot of fun with Peter and figuring out how he works. I'm having a lot of fun with creating Lily's arc, how she evolves. James was pretty straightforward from the beginning. I was just like, I know where he's going. I know how he's going to evolve. Snape was kind of a different story, because he's where he wants to be. And now we have to see what kind of conflict he gets himself into, both physically, like from outside, and inside. What is he dealing with? So that was a little bit more difficult, because he's in the Death Eaters. Now what? He's part of missions. And I'm like, okay, there has to be more than that. So that's where it comes into his lingering doubt about whether or not the Death Eaters is the right thing for him, which is why the brand new character that we've teased is so important. And you'll get to meet him pretty soon.
And I'm really hoping that this evens out people's views of the characters as well. I think there's obviously been a lot of discussion back and forth about, you know, it being anti-Marauders, anti-James, or like, you know, making too much of a hero out of Snape. And which is funny because I never saw it that way.
Me neither. And I always saw them as who they were, in my opinion, based on what I've read. And it's so funny. Yesterday, I got 2 comments back to back. The first was, all the characters' portrayals were perfect, especially James. That's how I saw him. The next comment was, the characters were not in character at all, especially James. That's not who he is. I'm like, oh my God.
I think it's very strange. It's always been very strange to me, because I always saw the film as having no clear protagonist or antagonist. That's why I liked the script so much.
Right.
You know, people really need to, you know, if the film changes depending on the perspective you're looking at it.
Right.
If you are at that table with James and you are kind of in the mindset that he and the Marauders are in, then Snape is a really bad guy to them.
Right.
Like from the perspective that they're in, looking at what he's involved in, looking at like the very strong potential and how, you know, dangerous group that Snape hangs out in, Snape is a big villain to them,
right,
as far as what he can do and what he's done and what he's capable of. And on the opposite side of, you know, but that's their perspective. That's where they're sitting at that table, plus a few drinks in hand.
Right.
Snape, on the other hand, will try to justify what he's done, has his reasoning for everything that he has done.
Right.
And look at James and the Marauders in the same way. So, you know, I a lot of people who love the film, you know, it's hard to argue with people who love the film and tell them that it's like, oh, the reasons that you love the film I disagree with.
Right.
But you know, for you know, because a lot of people saw, you know, this showing James as being a bully and the Marauders as being bullies. I'm like, it's not quite that. That is not how I saw it. You know, I don't see what they were doing to Snape as straight up bullying, considering the perspective that they were coming from and why they were trying to get rid of him.
Right.
And I'm hoping with the radio play being able to flesh out people, because we now have, you know, hours to tell instead of, you know, 25 minutes to tell this story, that we're able to flesh out the characters in a much bigger way where it doesn't seem so one-sided.
Sure. Do either of you guys read fan fiction? If so, what are your favorite Harry Potter fics? Personally, I have not really read any Harry Potter fan fiction. Me getting into Harry Potter fan fiction was totally separate from that group of people.
Yeah, I am bad at that as well. I have not read any fan fiction. I'm in this to create my own interpretation of this character, and it's been very separate from other people's. You know, I'm somewhat aware of what the fandom does with these characters and in fanfics, but
right. I read into what like seems like the biggest discussions around Harry Potter fan fiction are on Tumblr. And I see a lot of debate with Snape or James, and I see people writing fan fiction without Peter Pettigrew involved. And I'm like, what are you doing? Peter Pettigrew has to be involved. Like, oh, I didn't like him, so I'm going to keep him out. I'm like, no, what are you? Absolutely not. He has to be a part of it. So that's why I try to remain objective with these characters, because I see a lot of fan fiction. It's at least on the basics that I've seen for some people, not all, self-indulgent. They write out the Marauders as rock stars. They write Snape as the ultimate hero. And I'm like, I see none of those characters as either of those things. I see the Marauders as thinking themselves as rock stars. I see Snape as thinking himself as the hero, although I don't even think Snape thinks himself a hero, honestly.
I don't see that at all.
I just took a step back and said, what are these people thinking and feeling, and why? And how does it serve the story? What are the lessons to be learned? That's the way stories always are. So
just as far as like my personal taste with, you know, a lot of this stuff, like I'm bored by stories in which there is a very clear protagonist and antagonist. Like the gray areas are the most interesting stories to me, where it's just it's a story about a person.
Sure.
And I've, you know, the sort of fanfic and the sort of stuff that I've seen done with Snape in particular, where I've looked into a little bit of it, is I think it's great for fans to be able to take whatever they want from it and make it their own. It's just not at all where I would go with the character.
Right, and that's the great thing about a film is that
no one.
Right.
What's that?
Once you put I said the great thing about making a movie or telling a story is that once you put it out there, it's really up to your audience to interpret it however they want, and they're not wrong. They're, you know.
I hope people do that with ours as well. I hope people, you know, one of the reasons we really wanted to add a lot of this supplemental material is because we wanted to inspire people to create supplemental material for whatever our radio play does for them.
Right.
If you see something in a character, you want to draw something, you want to write something that, you know, that is inspired by the radio play, absolutely go for it. Like, you know, we are unofficial fanfic, and we understand that. So we encourage other people to do unofficial fanfic of ours as well. I think everybody's creative interpretation is completely up to them. But
there actually was someone did a short and piece of fan fiction after Snape and the Marauders. They just never continued it, and I read it and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So that was very flattering, and thank you, Gio. I appreciate that. She says that she thinks the characters in Snape, the characters of James and Snape, are portrayed in the fan movie fit perfectly with Rowling's characters. So thank
you. But you know, we have. I think people forget there isn't a whole lot to work off of as far as this relationship goes.
Sure.
We have specific facts. We know that they had a very tense, negative relationship in school. We know that there was bullying from James. We know that there was a lot of conflict as they learned how to, like, you know, kind of duel and do what they did. We know that, you know, Snape was inspired to create a lot of the spells he did based on wanting to defend himself from the Marauders.
Mm-hmm.
We know that James had very close friends who were only going to speak highly of him. But
right.
At the same time, that, you know, as far as being a writer like Rowling is, that whole conversation where, you know, where you know, I think it was Lupin who said that James had, like, matured at that point, or you know, something like that. Like,
well, he said that, yeah, he was getting better, but then Harry said, what about Snape? It's like, oh, he considered Snape a special case, and that was very interesting to me, and that was why James was such a jerk to Snape and the Marauders, because he was the only guy he was still bullying, and Snape was bullying right back. And the only reason why Snape didn't like stand up and start a fight immediately is that he had a reason to be there. He's like, I want to talk to Lily. So I was just looking at the information that was given to me in the book and looking at what a 17-year-old James would be like versus a 15-year-old James, and putting all of the elements of what he has to be thinking about, like the war, his new relationship with Lily, and his understanding that Lily and Snape used to have a close friendship, and he knows why he's there. So it was all these different things coming into effect of like, James is putting his bully face on to be like, I want to intimidate him to the point of where he'll never bother me or Lily ever again. And that's why he's such a jerk. And to me, there's no excuse for bullying, and Snape was going to have none of it. So he was going to stand up for himself. And that was kind of the whole idea behind it, is that people won't bully for no reason, and there's no reason for bullying.
Yeah, and I also think that, there were certain points that Rowling was trying to make with those characters as well. And I think it's also important to understand what the difference between what the actual factual narrative of what the writer is saying is, and what a character says, because what a character says in the book is not necessarily the truth.
No, absolutely. Even Harry's perspective says that. He's like, yes, Sirius Black isn't exactly the most reliable narrator.
And well, yeah, I mean, you have to understand, this was Harry being extremely disenchanted with his father, being upset with his father who is dead,
right?
And with his father's two closest friends. I mean, his father's two closest friends are going to try to spin this in the most positive way,
right? Because they don't want to tell Harry that their father was a jerk to first years.
Yeah. and also understanding that the factual information we have to go off of is that Snape's memory is Snape's worst memory. That absolutely happened. And there's information in the book saying that one of the reasons that Vernon Dursley really hates wizards is because he hated James, because James had no chill when he went to dinner with them, that he was still kind of a rambunctious troll when it came to...
I kind of want to record that scene as a bonus. There's a couple of scenes I want to record as a bonus, and that's one of them.
Yeah, but I think that's just an example. It's like he didn't really mature. I mean, he got older and stuff, but a lot of, he kind of evolved in sort of being the person that he was. He did it in a more adult way, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he really changed as a person.
Right.
But and again, I think that's not the point that Rowling was not trying to was trying to make, was that sometimes the people you look up to aren't the people you think they are, and putting people on pedestals.
Sure.
I think that the story that she was writing for James would have been kind of weak if all she meant was just like, oh, he was actually not that bad.
Right.
That Snape's memory doesn't mean that much, because actually it wasn't that bad. Like,
I took it as, especially since when I reread it like a couple of years ago, I took it as like, parents often prop themselves up as like more than who they are to their children to set a good example and hopefully make them better people, when in fact they're human and they have a past where they did dumb things. That's how I saw it. It's like your parents are not your parents are on too high a pedestal, and you have to remember that they're regular people who did questionable things, just like you, Harry, just like anybody. That's what I took from it.
Yeah, and also realizing that, even people who are fighting for the causes you believe in can still be jerks.
Right.
I mean, when
you're not evil.
Not evil, but they can still be jerks. I mean, there are people that you can completely agree with on every ideology and can still be a jerk about it.
Right.
And I think that was, James fought for the right reasons, and he was against Snape for kind of the right reasons of Snape, being a part of a very dark and frankly, racist sect of wizards and Nazi wizards. I mean, that's what Death Eaters basically are, and being involved in that. And James is on the good side of things to fight against them, but he could still be a jerk about it. He could still be doing it for the wrong reason and still revel in kind of being a jerk about it. So that's the gray area of like, no hero is perfect, no villain is 100% evil. Like there's nuances, and that's what makes a character interesting.
Right. I think Harry picked up on it as he grew up, and he became very snarky. He's because when I was reading it, he just said certain things to Snape. I was like, "Damn, you are pushing your buttons. You're pushing your limits there, Harry." Anyways, I think that is it for the day. So thank you, everybody, for hanging with us, and we'll see you next month. And we'll have a lot more to talk about because episode 1 is will be out by then. So thanks, everybody, and I'll see you next month.